Well, July was another month in 2020, but I'm here to tell you about the books that I read in the month of July. Here is my July wrap-up. Welcome back, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Katrina and I make bookish videos here on this channel at least twice a week, and then book to movie or movie reviews here at the weekend. So make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on any of those videos. In the description box below are all of my social media links, as well as links to my Goodreads and my blog, where a lot of the books I'll be talking about today I have already posted reviews for. That's also an opportunity to keep up with my reading in between videos. So July was it felt like a pretty good reading month, but I compared it to other reading months this year and it's pretty much the same. I seem to be averaging about 26 books in a month, so that's pretty good. But yeah, let's jump right in. As always, I am going to break this down into ebooks, physical books and audiobooks, and we do have physical books to talk about this month. Yay! And 9 of these books I read during the reading rush, so you can see my reading rush vlog linked up here, where I'll give you some more thoughts on some of these books. So first of all, I read Wedding Bells at the Signal Box Cafe by Annette Hanah. This is a rom-com, and this was definitely more on the romantic side. I would almost call it a straight romance. The romance in this one gave me butterflies and I just really enjoyed it. There is also in this one some humour around a residential care home, and so if people having illegal races on mobility scooters is your thing, this one is for you. Then I read 10 Things I Hate About Pinky by Sandhya Menon. This one was another one that kind of gave me butterflies because of the romance, but this is YA romance and is set in the Dimpleverse, so it's set in the When Dimple Met Rishi universe, but this one is set out at Cape Cod, and I really enjoyed the setting. This one definitely felt like the most kind of summery book that I'd read in a while. I felt like I was out there with Pinky having a jolly good time, and I really enjoyed this one, and I have already reviewed this on my blog and on Goodreads, so you can check my full review there. Then I read All the Lonely People by Gayle. Not only did I post a review of this one on my blog and Goodreads and everywhere, I also posted a review of this one on Instagram recently. I just love Gayle. He writes such heartfelt adult fiction, definitely rom-com, and this one was just absolutely perfect for right now, because it deals with loneliness, but loneliness in all its forms, and I know a lot of us have been having some lonely times lately, and so you will definitely find something to identify with in this book. And if you haven't read a Gayle, it would be a great starting place, although my personal favourite Gayle is still The Man I Think I can't remember if it's No or New, but that one is epic because it deals with male friendship, which so many books do not. Anyway, this is Gayle's latest one, and I love it. And links to all these books will of course be in the description box below. Then a surprising love. Now I knew I was going to like this one. An author that I really admire liked this book, and I have read this author's non-fiction, one of this author's non-fiction books. I have 2, but I read Olive by Emma Gannon, and Olive, the thing here is she knows what she wants, doesn't she? And Olive has chosen to remain child-free, and at the beginning of the book we meet her when it's just caused the breakup in her relationship, and as much as she always told her partner that she wanted to remain child-free, he kind of thought that she would come around eventually, and so we have some flashbacks to their earlier relationships, And the brilliant thing that I really loved about this is that we meet Olive on her last day of university with her 3 friends that we also get to follow along over the course of the book. And I just loved that feeling at the beginning. I was right back there with my roommates at university and thinking about kind of where we are now. I stopped living with them in 2007. I carried on to do something else, different uni, but yeah, 2007, and this is now 2020, so it was 13 years, and it was interesting to reflect where we all are now. And then this book also made me miss London. I was like, I want to get on the tube. But yes, highly recommend this one. A lot of food for thought, but also a lot of humour. It made me laugh out loud quite a lot as well. And I read this one on ebook too. Lots and lots of ebooks this month. Then I read my first poetry book ebook. I have pre-ordered the physical copy of this one though, because this was a proof that I got from NetGalley, and this is coming out beginning of September. I want to say the 8th of September, but it might be the 3rd of September. 3rd of September is a big publication day. Maybe the 8th of September. Yeah, 8th is a Tuesday. So yes, this is Coffee Days and Whiskey Nights by Cyrus Parker, and I really enjoy Cyrus Parker's poetry. Love the title of this one, and I talk a lot more about this one in my Reading Rush reading vlog, so go away and look at that one, because I kind of vlog my reading process of this one. But there is a cool pre-order campaign going on with this one, so I will leave the link to that in the description box below as well, because I have pre-ordered my copy because I'm excited to see what the pages look like and what the illustrations look like, and what the front cover feels like as well, because a lot of poetry books have that soft touch cover, and so I'm excited to see what the cover's like. So I'll leave that in the description box for you, but highly enjoyed it, as I knew I would. And then we have Invisible Girl by Lisa Jewell. Please let me know in the comments if you would like me to make a whole video talking about this one. I have made standalone reviews of I think 3 of Lisa Jewell's other books, and so if you would like a full review of this one, if you enjoy those ones, I have a whole playlist of hers linked up above. So let me know in the comments if you would like a full review. This is an adult thriller. It's probably the darkest of her books. There's definitely care warnings for rape and sexual assault in here, but there are a lot of other dark themes in here. And there's some, a lot more kind of police interaction than her previous novels as well, which was really interesting for me, because I don't normally like a kind of police procedural, but it wasn't too far into that. It was definitely a thriller, but I loved how dark it was, and I loved the way she dealt with certain themes in this book. And just the structure of her writing is always so, you're making me keep turning the pages. Once you pick this one up, you won't be able to put it down again. This one is published on August the 6th in the UK and October, I think the 13th in the US, but I'll leave the link in the description box, and then you can click on your appropriate viewing country. But yeah, obviously another hit, obviously. And then a buddy read I did with the lovely Hayley. This one is a September release, so we are a little bit ahead with this one, but once we had it in our possession, the proof copy of this one, we could not read it because it's Miranda Dickinson. Miranda's latest book comes out on the 3rd of September, that aforementioned date. And this one is, it's alternating perspective, Jo and Ottie. And Jo and Ottie write for a TV show, but it's like a company that gives the scripts to the TV show, but it feels like you are watching a TV show or a movie as you're reading it. Like I had this this picture playing out in my head as I was reading it. This is probably one of my most anticipated releases of the year, which is why we read it so early. so excited. I have posted my review on Goodreads already, so you can go and check that out there, and the review will be on my blog closer to the time. Again, let me know if you would like a full review of this one, because I reckon I can probably talk a good video about this one. So I really enjoyed it, and I'm making a prediction now that it's going to be in my kind of top 10 at the end of the year, because it was just so lovely. I mean, with this and the previous book, I know going into them that I'm going to love them. It's just like how I'm going to love them and how they're going to make me feel, and I really love that. And that is the last ebook that I have. Quite a few ebooks this month, and are you ready? I have 2 physical books this month. 2 physical books after last month's 0 physical books. The first physical book, which was one of the first books I finished this month, is Here and Now by Sandhya Montefiore. This one came out in hardback on the 9th of July, and this one, for being a book that deals with a main character who has early onset dementia, this one is just so heartwarming and lovely. People talk about, I was saying today, people talk about books being like bittersweet, but this one I would say is definitely more on the side of sweet than on the side of bitter. Like, we know that it's not necessarily going to have a happy ending for everyone, but the other characters in this book I just so connected with and so enjoyed meeting, and I was really rooting for them to have the best ending that they could have, and so therefore it was just such a lovely read. I've got a full review on my blog, so you can go and read that if you would like to, but I really enjoyed this one, and I have listened to previous Sandhya Montefiore novels on audiobook, and she tends to have the same narrator. It's always very well done, so if you're an audiobook listener and you want to order this one, I will put the link in the description box, because I'm sure it will be very good. And then the other physical book that I did, actually middle grade, and I basically talked you through my reading of this in the Reading Rush reading vlog, and this is Miles Morales' Spider-Man by Jason Reynolds, which I loved and really made me want to watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse again. I haven't seen it since I saw it in the cinema. I would like to watch it again, and I haven't yet, so maybe once I finish filming this I will watch this, but I talk much more in depth about my thoughts on this book in that vlog, so you're better to go and watch that than me try and like waffle my thoughts up here. Okay, moving on to audiobooks, which is always the biggest chunk of my reading, although ebooks did a pretty good job this month, I would say. One of the very first audiobooks that I finished was the first book I finished in July. I listened to the whole thing on the 1st of July, and it is of course Love Creekwood by Becky Albertalli. It was just so great to catch up with these characters, and I love the way she wrote the book as email communication and just electronic communication between these friends. I feel like you got inside their heads, but I need more. I need to read more. I feel so like I did when I finished watching Love Victor. Like, I need more. I need more in this universe. I feel like I live in this little universe now. And I just adored it. It was so good, and such a quick listen because it's only a thin book. I need to see if I can get the actual book. But I did listen to the audiobook, and it was very good. Then I also listened to Stealing Home, a Sweet Magnolias novel by Sheryl Woods. This one takes place in South Carolina and is adult romance. It's not something I would normally read, but I really want to watch the TV show. Now, I'm not sure if I need to read, so I got this from Hoopla, and it's got the little sticker on, and the first 4 books in the series, it's a big long series, the first 4 books in the series have the sticker on. Does that mean I need to read the first 4 books before I can watch the series, or can I jump into the series now? Because I've been waiting long enough to jump into the series. I'm very excited to. I would be happy to read the next 3 books. However, they are quite long and they get longer. This one I think was 11 hours, and then they progress to being like 12 and 13 hours. And so I don't want to put in the time if it's then going to spoil the series for me. So if you've read the books and watched the series, let me know. Or point me in the direction of somebody that will be able to tell me. But I really did enjoy this one more than I expected to. Because it's straight romance, I expected to be a little bit like, especially because it's set in South Carolina, and I hadn't read anything set in South Carolina, and then I ended up reading like 2 or 3 books this month set in South Carolina. Very interesting. I'll go more into my book setting stats in my library bingo reading vlog, which will be coming up for you, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that. Then I also listened to I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. I have begun watching the series but haven't quite finished watching the series yet, so you will be having a book versus movie of this one as well coming up. Very exciting. This is about the Golden State Killer. It's non-fiction, and the extra note at the end, there's like an appendix at the end, is narrated by Patton Oswalt as well. So that was quite cool, because I've watched the first 2 episodes of the series and he features quite heavily, and I was like, oh, he hasn't come up in the book. And then we have the little note at the end from him, and it is narrated by him. So that was quite cool. And it was really interesting reading the book first and then going into the TV series, because I've already got some comparisons. But yes. Then I also read The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, which was also set in South Carolina. And this one was by Grady Hendrix. I heard Grady Hendrix talking at 2 of our Social Distance Book Fest panels. I will leave that playlist linked for you. And that was what made me want to read this book, because his sense of humor came across in those panels. I was like, even though his books are kind of horror thriller, I think I'm gonna like his sense of humor. And this book was really, really funny. It was very tongue-in-cheek, and so I think I appreciated that, because that is kind of my sense of humor. I like some sarcasm in there. But this book is also a bit of a social commentary, and so it's very timely. And yeah, for a horror novel that I don't normally read, I really, really enjoyed it. I haven't penned my review of this one yet. I don't know why. I feel like, because it's always difficult when it's something in a genre that I don't read very often. I feel like I've not got any right to review this because it's not my genre. Sitting down and writing a review of any sort of rom-com, whether that's adult or young adult, writing a review of non-fiction in any way, I'm like, yes, I can talk about this, no problem. But when it's a genre where I'm like, oh, I'm new to this genre, I don't normally read this genre, I feel like an imposter. So I must sit down and write my review of that one, because I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot. Then I listened to the audiobook of Spirited by Julie Cohen, and I was watching the Netflix show The End of the Fucking World whilst listening to this one, and the actress who plays one of the police officers in the first series of that one reads this one. So it was like, oh, I can hear the person from the TV. It's bad enough that like the main female character in that show sounds like me, because she's from near where I'm from. But yeah, that was quite odd. But the audiobook was very good. It was spooky, a little bit dark, but also really, really feminist, and has some strong female vibes, which I absolutely love. So if you like a little bit of kind of historical sprinkled into your fiction, not too much historical because that's my personal preference, just sprinkled in there, and you like some spooky but you like some strong female, definitely gonna like this one. Then we have, where have we gone? There it is. The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I found the first 20% of this book to be quite slow paced, and then once I got in tune with the characters that we were dealing with, I was really invested and listened to the rest of it all at once. So the first 20% I was like, I don't know who these people are, I'm not sure what's going on. And then I sat down and read the rest of it. And I was like, oh, okay. This one features twins who grow up in a town that, it's a town where black people are celebrated for being light-skinned. And this town kind of like sort of brings people up to have children who are lighter and lighter and lighter skinned. And then we see the future of these two twins and the way their futures differ so much. One leaves the town and one stays, and then we find out what happens to them. And so I think when they were initially in the town in the beginning, I think that's where it was a lot of information all at once. But once I got my head around that information and got really into the characters, then the book was really good, and I really liked, it was almost like a sort of sliding doors type of thing, but again, very topical and really a good social commentary as well. So yes, I did enjoy it, but just fair warning that I found the first 20% to be difficult to get into. So if you are willing to persevere, or if you're like me and, you know, struggle to take in a lot of information at the beginning of the book, then it's definitely worth sticking with. But just putting that warning out there. And then I listened to The Pleasure Gap, which is American Women and the Unfinished Sexual Revolution. This is a non-fiction book, and it was a long non-fiction book. I think I would have preferred this one to be a little bit shorter. There was a lot of scientific studies quoted, and I think that's why it felt that little bit longer. I think I would have liked a little bit more opinion and a little bit less fact, and then to cut down the length a little bit more, and it would have been a great read. But there was definitely some interesting things that popped up in there, some studies that I hadn't heard of, and some more sort of historical studies as well, which was interesting, something just a little bit different. I think I'd put a hold on it and it just came along all of a sudden. Then I listened to Expectation by Anna Hope, which I had been putting off reading because of the hype. So a lot of my favourite book publicists were reading this. It was all over social media. It was nominated for prizes and things, and so I was put off reading it because of that, but oh my goodness, it was amazing. I really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it. I've got a full written review on Goodreads of this one. My blog post is coming up. It just hasn't had time to be posted yet. And this one deals with the many different ways we can interpret the word expectation. The expectation we have on ourselves, the expectation that others have of us, the expectation that we think that others have of us, the expectation of where we think we ought to be by a certain age, by a certain life point, and then also the expectation that comes with expecting, being a mother, being pregnant. And so the fact that it deals with expectation in all these different ways, I just loved it. So invested in these characters, and I binge listened to this one. Listened to it all at once. It was amazing. Then I listened to Dear Emmy Blue by Laya Louis, which comes out on the 6th of August. The ebook came out on the 1st of August. It came out at the end of July here in the US. The UK paperback audio comes out on the 6th of August. The ebook is already out. It'll be linked below. This one, again, I just loved. It's just so wonderfully written. There are so many things that come up that are unexpected, but I'm just so connected to Emmy Blue and her life and her kind of desire to keep on keeping on despite things not being quite right most of the time. And it is a beautiful book, and so many people were telling me what a beautiful book it was, and I got around to reading it. It's a beautiful book. It's just, it just really is a beautiful book. And then some audiobooks that I have the physical copies of here. A few of these will be familiar from my most recent book haul, which if you haven't seen it, I'll leave it linked for you. I listened to Felix Ever After by Kacen Callender, and I talk about this one in that Reading Rush reading vlog, but this is own voices, it is young adult, it is coming of age, it's everything I like in a book, and it's just a stunning cover as well. But I talk about it a lot more in that reading vlog, so you can go and watch that. Then I also listened to Aurora Rising by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, and I have a whole video coming up about this one where I give you all of my thoughts, so you're just gonna have to hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on that one. Not saying any more about it apart from the fact that when I pulled it up here, probably regular viewers were like, what? You read that? Yes, it's not my usual genre. Then I read Go in the Distance, Kissing Booth 2 by Beth Reekles. This was a reread for me. I've now read this twice in 1 year, and I have my book versus movie of The Kissing Booth 2, which I will leave linked somewhere in case you haven't already seen it. Then I also listened to and partly read, I did a bit of a swing back and forth, reading, listening, One to Watch by Stayman-London, which I did as a buddy read with Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany. I will leave her rant video linked here or on the end screen or below, because we have some thoughts on this one. Parts of this book didn't bother me as much as they bothered her, for sure. I was a little more sympathetic to our main character. Basically, the premise for this one is that B is a fashion influencer. She is fat, but she is all over Instagram, and so they pick her to be the next main contestant for Main Squeeze, which is basically The Bachelorette. And thanks to this book, I started watching a series of The Bachelor, so I need to go and finish watching that. I didn't realise, because having never watched part of that franchise, that you're expected to get married at the end of it. I'm like, wow, that is a lot in a reality TV series. But this book was marketed as, this is, you know, the first plus size contestant on Main Squeeze, and it's gonna, you know, turn the whole thing on its head. And unfortunately, there were many opportunities to have amazing fat representation, amazing aromantic representation, amazing examples of people booking their racial stereotypes, and it just didn't happen. We talked about the fact that we think that this one wasn't very highly edited. I said, was the writer a journalist before writing this book? Because in my experience, aside from Olive by Emma Gannon, books written by people who already have a career in writing other things are often not very highly edited, and so suffer accordingly. And yes, this writer used to write speeches for Obama and Hillary Clinton and all sorts of other things, and so we think it just wasn't very well edited. And so those missed opportunities could have been fixed with one very simple thing. However, I did really enjoy the reality TV side of it. It kind of pokes fun at that whole genre, and yeah, if you weren't reading this and discussing it the way that we did, we read it over 3 days, I think that you would miss some of these missed opportunities. And I think if you weren't reading this as somebody who is fat, some of these things, some of these insecurities that she has, you would be like, oh, that's just how fat people are. And we were like, that's not the case at all. And you know, the cover of this one, she's wearing a gorgeous dress, and she has pink hair and beautiful shoes, and she's obviously a very confident person, and we know that she's a fashion influencer on Instagram, and she just doesn't come across that way in the book at all, which was a real shame. This book could have been so much better, and it was marketed as being so much better. There's so many missed opportunities to have all this great representation and go against all these other stereotypes, and they just went with the stereotypes and didn't have that representation. So there we go. Bethany, I think, talks about it a little bit better in her video, so you can feel free to go and watch that one after you finish watching mine. Then I listened to Big Friendship, How We Keep Each Other Close, and this one is non-fiction. It's not terribly long, and so I did listen to this all in one day. This one was interesting because these friends have a podcast and then decided to bring out this book, and you can see this was one of my Book of the Month Club picks in my most recent book haul. And yes, whilst I was listening to this, I did text my best friend who does live 5,000 miles away and say, we need to make a date to have coffee and catch up properly, because we keep having these WhatsApp conversations in between when you're up and when I'm up, and it's difficult with a 7-hour time difference, definitely difficult. And when one of you has children and the other one doesn't, it can be difficult as well. And so yes, a lot of interesting food for thought in here. And what's nice is the two of them do narrate the audiobook, and so you kind of have a bit of a back and forth conversation, as well as people having their own chapters and their own things to talk about. And yeah, it was really interesting. It was very, I would say it's quite American friendship specific, which might sound a bit odd because my friendship isn't in America, but yeah, there were certain points where I was like, that just wouldn't happen with a friendship in the UK or a transatlantic friendship as I currently have. And so not everything I felt applied, which again, I don't know, I can't think of like specific examples, but it just felt like it didn't apply to like a friendship that is, I suppose because these friends are 3,000 miles apart, but they're living in the same country, whereas in the UK, for you to be 3,000 miles apart, you'd have to be living in different countries. I think maybe that was like the crux of it. There was a couple of other things that was just like, oh yeah, but that kind of doesn't apply to me because I'm British. I don't know. Yeah. Has that ever happened to you in books? Like non-fiction books specifically? It was just a feeling like, this feels a bit off for me personally. I don't know. Then another buddy read. It was a good month for buddy reads. I think I did 5 or 6, which is quite cool. Only one of them failed as well, which is brilliant. I listened to Slay by Brittany Morris, and oh my goodness, this was so good. I have already written a full review of this one on Goodreads and my blog, and this is just, again, I'd put off listening to it because of the hype. This is a signed proof copy that I've had for more than a year, and everyone was talking about it. And I was like, oh, what if I don't like it? Oh, you know, but it's worth the hype. It's just amazing. I don't want to say anything and spoil it for you because it's just so good. I so enjoyed it. You need to read it. That's all I'm saying to you. It was amazing. You need to read it. Then I listened to This Monster, A Beautifully Foolish Endeavour by Hank Green, which is the follow-up to An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. I have an event vlog from An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. I really, really enjoyed it. And again, it's not my usual genre. It's sci-fi. I will say that in this second book, the sci-fi ramps up a lot. There's a lot of information, and it's a little bit on the long side just for my personal taste. I think if you are someone who doesn't normally read sci-fi like me and you enjoyed the first book, I think you might find yourself not enjoying the second book as much. But as somebody that enjoys sequels, I love the fact that this one picked up straight where An Absolutely Remarkable Thing finishes. We get some of the same characters, and we also have a lot of the same kind of social commentary. There's a lot of like nerd speak in this one, which I really, really enjoyed. We have a lot of talk about like virtual currencies, about social media, and about somebody who, you know, works and exists in that online community when they come across someone who does not work and exist in that online community, which can sometimes be a bit of a mind flip. Be like, I assume that everyone spends as much time online as I do, and you don't. So there we go. But the audiobook does have a bonus interview with Hank at the end, and it's like a 30-minute interview. It's some seriously good bonus content. So if you are considering reading this one, highly recommend the audio. And finally, I listened to Weird But Normal by Mia Mercado, and this one is it's just as essays. I was drawn to it because of the cover. You can see I was drawn to this one because of the cover, but also I've read a few things like this, and I enjoy reading books like this that deal with this like weird but normal, like, oh, my body does this, or I think like this, or when I'm at home alone I do this. And it's like, yeah, so does everybody. It's fine. It's weird but normal. Like, I love. So this is essays on the awkward, uncomfortable, surprisingly regular parts of being human, including depression isn't a competition, but like, why aren't I winning? My dog explains my weekly schedule. I guffawed at that one. Absolutely guffawed at it. Mustache Lady, White Friend Confessional, and Treating Objects Like Women. Just, there's so many good things to say in this, and for an audiobook, I laughed so much. I laughed so much because I was identifying with things. I laughed so much because of the commentary on some of the things going on in the media right now. I mean, my dog explains my weekly schedule. That's quite an obvious thing to make me laugh, but I just love this book. I thought it was amazing. Highly recommend this one. It is non-fiction, and it's read by the author. So, you know, this chapter here, Bath and Body Works, is the suburban nonsense I crave. Today I'm here because I need candles. This will be the first of many lies I tell myself on this trip. There is no scenario in which scented candles are a necessity for anyone. Are you performing a seance that only summons demons with a realistic sugar cookie scent? Do you only work by cherry blossom candlelight? Or are you just committed to perpetuating the lie that your home naturally smells like fruity ocean water, despite living in a landlocked state and having to Google bergamot, orange, real fruit, or just candle smell? No one needs candles, but if you're going to come with me on this journey, leave your bullshit attitude about my priorities on that mall bench next to all the disillusioned dads. I kind of want to read it again. It was just so good. It was one of my favourite books I read this month. So I've had a really good July reading month. I really liked most things I read, which I am pleased about because, as you'll know, June had some super critical responses from me to what I was reading. So I made some good choices in July, and I read some August releases and one September release. I'm ahead of the game, guys. I'm ahead of the game. I'm going to fall behind again. It's fine. There's loads of August releases, and September the 3rd, it's a massive publication day. Books have been shifted forwards and backwards, and they've all converged on September the 3rd. Don't think anything was being published originally on September the 3rd. Oh my goodness. For more news on September the 3rd, you'll need to watch my August TBR, which will be coming up for you. We'll post this one first. I've decided now. So make sure you are subscribed so that you don't miss out on that. Let me know in the comments the answers to all those questions I asked you throughout the video. Also, did you have a good reading month in July? Did you read some nice things that made you laugh? Did you read anything that made you cry? Did you have a bad reading month? Did you manage to finish everything you decided to read? Hit that notification bell so that you do not miss my August TBR. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you with that next video.